Erev Shabbat Shalom Rabotai. We are continuing with our Mishna Yomi Masechet Terumot. We're up to Perek Gimel Mishnah Bet. Today's Mishnah should be Le'Nishmat Neria ben Svetlana Aranbayev and Eliyahu ben Bracha Israelov Menuchatam Began Eden. Amen. Today's Mishnah is going to continue the discussion of the case in yesterday's Mishnah, where two portions, one wine and one vinegar, were designated as terumah, but only one of them is actually terumah, and we don't know which one. The Mishnah is going to discuss a case. What happens if one or both of the portions falls into chulin, ordinary produce? The Mishnah says, Nafla achad me'en letoch hachulin, enah medametan, nafla shniya lamakom echer, enah medametan. If the liquid in one of the barrels fell into chulin, it does not make the chulin a forbidden meduma mixture. And if the liquid in the second barrel fell into a different place, a different container of chulin, it too does not make that chulin a forbidden meduma mixture. Now, although this sounds repetitive from yesterday's Mishnah, they are repeated here to teach us a new lesson, that if both of the two portions of terumah, so to speak, fell into different containers of chulin, both mixtures are allowed, because a person could have thought that both mixtures are forbidden because one of them certainly contains real terumah. Therefore, our Mishnah teaches that is not the case, because we look at each mixture by itself. We say that since each one by itself is permitted because it contains only questionable terumah, both are permitted. However, the Mishnah concludes, Naflu shten makom echad midam me'ot kakitana shebashtehen. But if the liquids in both of them fell into one place, the same container of chulin, then they make the chulin a forbidden meduma mixture with the amount of terumah in the mixture calculated according to the smaller of the two portions. And the Mefarshim explain, since both portions fell into the chulin and one of them is definitely terumah, the mixture becomes meduma. However, in order for the mixture to become allowed to non-kohanim, we do not require 100 times more chulin than both portions together, because only one portion is real terumah. On top of that, it's enough for the chulin to be 100 times greater than the smaller portion, because we say anytime you have a doubt regarding a rabbinic law, safek derabanan lekula, we're lenient. Now the Mefarshim do point out, even when a mixture of terumah and chulin is permitted, the kohen does not lose his share of terumah. A person has to remove an amount from the mixture equal to the terumah that fell in and give it to a kohen. In our case, where both portions fell into the chulin, if the mixture is permitted, because the chulin is at least 100 times more than the smaller one removes an equal amount to both portions and gives it to the kohen. He can charge the kohen the price of the amount corresponding to the larger portion, like we learned in yesterday's Mishnah, but he gives an amount equal to both portions to the kohen. That is then Abotai Mishnah Bet. Mishnah Gimel discusses what we learned in the beginning of the Masechet. In the first Mishnah of Masechet Terumot, we discussed that a person cannot separate terumah from someone else's produce without the owner's permission. The Mishnah is going to discuss a situation where two people share ownership of produce and one of them separates terumah for all of it without the other's knowledge. His separation, we know, certainly works for his own share of the produce, but the question is whether it works for his partner's share as well. So the Mishnah says, Hashutafin shetalmu zeh achar zeh, in a case where two partners separated terumah for all of their jointly owned produce, one after another. So for example, Reuven and Shimon own 50 se'ah of wheat together. Reuven designated a se'ah of wheat as terumah for the other 49 se'ah. Afterwards, Shimon, who was unaware that Reuven already separated terumah, he designated another se'ah as terumah. The halacha is, the Mishnah says, Rabbi Akiva says, terumat shneim terumah. Both of their terumots are valid, meaning the designation of terumah designation by each person is effective for his own share, though it's not effective for his partner's share, since the partners wanted to separate terumah. Since the partner wants to separate terumah himself for the portion that he owns. And the Mefarshim explain what's Rabbi Akiva's logic. According to Rabbi Akiva, we assume that each partner wants to separate terumah for his own share, and he doesn't want the partner to do it for him. Therefore, only half of the se'ah separated by Reuven is terumah for his own share, and the other half se'ah is not terumah at all. Likewise, when Shimon separates the se'ah as terumah, half is terumah for his own share, and the other half is not terumah at all. The Mivarshim continue to point out, within the seah separated by each partner, it's impossible to identify which half is terumah and which half is chulin. So the entire mixture is forbidden to non-kohanim. Both seahs are therefore given to a kohen. The kohen gets half of each seah for free, the terumah, and he pays for the other half. Then he separates the terumah and masrot that are needed to be separated for the two half seahs, since half of each seah is not terumah but ordinary tevel, and then he may eat them. However, the Chachamim Omrim, the sages say, terumah tarishon terumah. The terumah of the first partner is valid for all of the produce, and therefore the terumah designation by the second partner is meaningless. And the Mefarshim's explain that the Chachamim's logic is that the sages hold that each partner presumably does not object to having the other partner separate terumah for the entire crop. In our example, Shimon separated terumah after Reuven only because he didn't know that Reuven already did it. Therefore, the Reuven's designation works not only for his own produce, his own share of the produce, but also for Shimon's share. And the se'ah Reuven designated is entirely terumah. Shimon's designation is therefore worthless, since the produce for which he's designating it for was already exempt from the terumah obligation. Now, the Mishnah continues, Rabbi Yossi Omer. Rabbi Yossi is clarifying the view of the Chachamim. Rabbi Yossi says, it depends. Im taram harishon kashiur. If the first partner separated the standard amount of terumah for both of their shares, meaning 1/50th of all of the produce, then it is terumah for all of the produce, and terumah tashni terumah, and the terumah of the second partner is not terumah at all, like the Chachamim said. In that case, they would agree the terumah separated by the first partner is terumah for all of the produce. V'im lo taram harishon kashiur. If the first partner did not separate the standard measure of terumah, meaning he separated less than 1/50th of all the produce, we assume that the second partner would not want that portion to be the terumah for his share, because he wants to give the standard measure. Therefore, terumah tasheni terumah. And in that case, even the Chachamim agree that the first partner's terumah is valid only for his own share, and the terumah of the second partner is valid for his share. And the Rav tells us, halakha Rabbi Yossi, the halakha follows Rabbi Yossi, because he is coming to explain the view of the opinions. And that is the Nabotai of today's Mishna Yomi. Everybody should have a Erev Shabbat Shalom. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen v'amen.